front line here. That's a good deal. They do a good service. What can I say? But MiG 1 to MiG 2, you got your ears on here for the turbulence equation.
My mission is simple: to make you money.
It'll be the HUD.
I'm here to level the playing field for all investors.
Rose
There's
colored red
always a
tip
bull
and
market somewhere,
Lorenzo's.
and I promise to help you find it. Mad Money starts now. Hey, I'm Kramer. Welcome to Mad Money. Welcome to
We'll see how
Kramer.
it plays out.
Other people want to make friends? I'm just trying to help you make money. My job is not just to entertain you, but to educate and teach you. So call me at 1-800-743-CBC or tweet me at Jim Kramer. Which is? Are we headed for a frightening future? Or are things the best they've ever looked? Right now, it is no exaggeration to say that we have a truly Dickensian best of times, worst of times scenario on our hands. Today, the averages seem to agree with the best of times thesis. Dow gaining 344 points, S&P jumping 1.12%, and the NASDAQ putting on a real show, jumping more than 2%. Perhaps because interest rates went lower, or perhaps because, maybe we're just getting a little oversold.
Well, I've heard.
You got to understand, right now, the American consumer is looking incredibly strong.
Well, it's about we're trying to pick the top or the bottom or the bounce off the bottom. See, interest rates, if you're good with them, in the position of being do that interest rate, like a bank loan, let's say the bank savings account had a interest rate of whatever,
I've ever heard about his airline.
You're just putting it into that bank right now, money into numbers frame rate.
Listen to this.
The demand is phenomenal.
I'm not telling you you can't make $100 a day, subsidize your system. It's a smart thing to do. Work the system, stay busy. You still want to have a post something to cover in case that net don't work, some hard line on a factory, construction crew you can jump on and just grab a hand and make $100 a day.
His quarterly conference call today, he told a much more downbeat
to do better.
Frankly, I thought it borderline frightening. In particular, he had some very discouraging comments about the war in Ukraine. Take a listen.
Chicken noodle soup in
pointed
there,
out in my letter that, war in Ukraine, usually wars don't necessarily affect the global economy in the short run, but there are exceptions to that. This may very well be one of them.
Then Jamie goes on.
There's a lot of tanks rolling in that neighborhood. Right now, it was a 40-mile death worm, 8-mile death worm, and then I've seen a lot of photos of a big set rolling in on CNN pushing.
Now, both of these guys could be
Fox too. They both have generals out at night.
And he's shocked to see how strong they are. Plus, he's noticing that passengers have little to no resistance to higher prices, something he can't recall seeing in the entire history of the airline industry. I think a lot of people
how to weather turbulence, of course, you're going to catch an air turbulence.
You've also had a ton of delayed weddings that can be held. Now, when we had J.P. Morgan's Matt Boss, the best retail analyst in business, on the show the other day, he said the consumer's quite strong.
And it's platform too. You got the whole summer into winter. That seems, solid. And they'll probably run it like that. For however you need to do math to figure out why it does whatever the hell it is it does.
Intensification of unpredictable war, the sticker shock from inflation, the resulting slowdowns, the Fed needs to raise rates to stay about inflation.
I told him to get out there and show some legs.
That's
the reason.
In fact,
again, for me, it'd be like, Jamie, you're a bank. I get putting loans on things and being that split, being upside down, comes up with a Garkey party of being that big. Well, syndicates are syndicates. They might cover X or Y prime and bar and Euler or Lambda, but wave function.
But businesses,
anybody is.
Different set of priorities. So what happens? Delta stock. It finishes up $2.41 or 6.21%.
I bet.
It loses
there's a reality of the way the people that do make money just being taught the ASVAB or machinery like this, how you use a chainsaw.
All right, so now,
anybody can learn to fall a tree, but there's still a skill gap.
First, let me tell you something I learned
arborists in the arborist position.
When I bought my first stock, American Agronomics. I heard about this company that it had amazing orange groves in Florida.
It comes to a point
I went to the Mercantile Library in New York City, read some reports about it, everything checked out. Plus,
let's do some turbulence.
Maybe best of all, Merck Agronomics was only a $10 stock.
Specifically.
So how much could I possibly lose?
I talk about wind turbulence
let me
right
tell you
here.
something.
One of the bishops.
Right after I bought it, Florida got
has a
hit
lot
with
to do
the
with particle
worst frost in
spin.
its whole
This
history.
is a very simple
And I lost
change.
almost my
Pressure,
entire
temperature, wind
In other words,
conditions
luck.
being the U,
Luck
those are
plays
kind
a
of
huge
equal
role
to
in this
zero,
business.
but you'll get
If
much
Putin
more
blinks,
competitive
then
into
maybe
the
the whole
derivative,
crisis,
where
the
the
whole
point,
crisis can
the
come to an
magnetic
end.
point,
Wouldn't
the
that be fabulous?
position, the
Now you may
probability,
think, wait a second, that's
the
fanciful.
distance, the duration, the difference.
But I'm old enough to remember the Cuban Missile Crisis.
It gets pretty
When
shaky.
John F. Kennedy
Reality
threatened
there.
nuclear war over Soviet missiles
But they're working the
that were
same
in
way.
Cuba. And
This
Nikita
kind of
Khrushchev,
fixes
the head
it.
of the Soviet
You know,
Union,
some
he
math
blinked.
trick where it's like, okay,
And
kid, I need
Khrushchev?
the azimuth of
I
here.
know
What's that really
Putin
mean?
was
It's
supposed
like,
to be
I
tough.
need you to
Khrushchev was
go
one- he was
there
one tough guy.
and
He was a
do.
war hero at the Battle of Stalingrad. He was one of the toughest soldiers in a war that cost the Soviet Union more than 28 million lives. Putin
Dang.
doesn't have that kind of credibility, so maybe he'll blink too. If that
90-day boot
happens,
barn.
then we will look back and
Right.
think Jamie Dimon's
For
comments
sure.
were true
I
delivery.
clipped a video
You can
of
bet
doing,
the other bank
kind of pretending
CEOs
to
heard
talk
them
to
loud and
Jim
clear.
about
They watch
setting
this
up for the
stock plummet, so
Biden
they won't
admin,
be making the
right?
same mistake
Solar,
again, believe me.
wind, hydrogen,
At the same time,
right? You know,
we know the travel business is incredibly fickle. Hey, a lot of things go wrong. How about like bad
what
weather?
day was that?
Maybe Ed Bastian and his team at Delta will turn out to be too bullish. We don't know. More important, though,
Gotta be in here somewhere.
these two industries,
There it was.
the banks and travel, are not for everyone.
Look at
Both
this.
the banks
All
and the
kinds of
airlines
gems
can be
running
very
around
sink or
in
swim.
there.
So you
This is
might
DMI.
not want to extrapolate
Right.
too hard to the rest of the economy. Perhaps we should think about
You would
something
want
with a
to
longer-term
again limit
perspective.
that down by dimensional
Did you know that
analysis.
today,
What's in the sector?
Procter &
Figure out the
Gamble
big keys.
increased its dividend by 5%.
Start
The
running this through.
66th year that the firm
Watching
boosted
them
its
for either
I know,
the total
only yields
metrics,
2.3%
which is
year-to-date,
a
but you know
model,
why?
but it kind of sets you in platform.
why?
I don't know who you
Because the
are.
stock
I
has
don't
steadily
know
rallied
from
for
back up
ages.
there
Well managed, great
or
products, everyone uses
over
them in
here
the
how
slowdown.
how
As I
much
said to the
volume you're
CBC
willing to
Investing
go
Club today,
through
Plain
for
bang shampoo, what you need
80,
the most in a recession?
100s. And what do we got down
Procter.
here? More of them.
All right,
The
here's
rest of
another
the
one.
tomb.
If you
Maybe a
think Bastion
$50,
is right,
$100
and the
mix
airlines
up.
are doing fabulously,
Then you
then
post out
how
that
about
to
a
them, and you
destination?
hold that post for a little while.
We
You say
told
it's
the
not going to
Investing
be
Club
forever.
members at our morning meeting that if people are
It's not going to
traveling,
be forever.
they'll
It's
head
going
to
to
the most
change.
coveted vacation
Back to
spot on
turbulence.
Earth. They're going to Disney World. Right now,
one
there's
to
not.
Disneyland.
Whoa, a lot of negative mojo about Disney. Matter of fact, I can't recall another time when this
life
iconic
impossible.
company was more at odds with the price of its stock. These situations usually resolve
I
themselves
learned
positively
Gresham's
for the
Law
stock
from you, Jim.
as Disney makes changes to close the gap.
You
And
taught
that's what's
me
going to
the
happen here.
words.
Trust me. Or, if you're interested in owning a bank, but
Well,
are turned
think
off
about
by
the
Jamie
old
Dimon's
times.
comments. Believe
You're
me, so are the other big banks.
not
Banks
what
make
I'm.
fortunes
No,
when the
that's
Fed
not
raises
the
rates.
zine. That's
They
not
can
the
invest
middle,
your deposits
right?
in
You know,
treasuries,
that's
get higher risk-free returns while paying you next to nothing. And remember, if you want to find a bank that will benefit the most from higher rates, look no further than Bank of America, which has a gigantic deposit base, much more of a domestic story than J.P. Morgan.
That's
and
actually
also,
what
by
it
the
would
way,
look like.
I
That's
bet you
about as
Brian
tight
Moynihan,
to-
the CEO, I bet you he listened to Jamie.
about as
He's not
tight
gonna
as
echo
old
that guy.
drill hard. You know what? I plan on doing
that
that.
doesn't
I'm
work
going
for
to take
you,
old drill
and you
sergeant
think Jamie's right
one-on-one
about how the war in Ukraine
and
could
stick
spiral out of
figure
control,
style
then maybe it's time
about
to
what
defense
this
contract.
is. Well,
I think
one-on.
Raytheon Technologies,
One-on.
best way to play it. If you believe the Ukrainian government will be getting more hardware from the West, I hope
What
they
would
do,
you
but it's
draw?
always hope should be
It's like,
put in
all
that
right,
part of
let
the
me
equation.
show Jim
The
how
bottom line,
this is done right. You
look,
get out here with the semis, right?
this is a hyper-confusing moment.
Benny
But I
did,
want you to search for stocks
Ethereum,
that can work long
bunny
term,
trail for a
regardless of
blinking
whether we're
light.
in the best of times, the worst of times, or both. Let's go to Nicholas in Maryland. Nicholas.
Booyah, Jim. I was just wondering if you think I should hold on to Chipotle, letter CMG.
Oh, I heard
Also,
it the other
I
day
was wondering
too.
if you could shout out my business
I
teacher,
heard-
Mr.
what was
Murray.
it?
It would mean
Yeah.
the world.
One of them played it today.
I would
They
like
thought
to
about the
shout out to Mr.
changeover.
Murray. I can whisper.
He
to
said
Mr.
it was
Murch
low.
that I think
He
he's
said
doing a
it
good job.
was
Chipotle
low to a
is breaking out
changeover
here.
that'll break
And
out.
I think it's the best of the best, and I think you should
It
own
looked
it.
like it.
I've liked it since 300. I like it at 1,500.
I don't know if I'd be
Jeff in
that excited
California,
about
please,
it right
Jeff.
now. It seems like a little much, but it's a good time to put
Kramer,
money
I'm
on
a
it.
founding member of the
Maybe
Investing Club,
reasonably.
loving the morning meetings. Just read your club piece on
Balance.
net interest margins. Could not have been more timely. I'm
Oh,
looking for
thank you a
banks.
lot. Thank you.
Oh, sir, thank you so much. I'm looking for banks that will profit as the Fed raises rates. I saw a bank stock mentioned in the newsletter has a yield of 3.7, a PE less than 8, and a recent double upgrade to buy. What's your take on Key Corp?
I think Key Corp is excuse me. I think Key Corp's terrific, and I think you should buy it. I would buy it tomorrow. That's how good it is. It doesn't have the problems at all that J.P. Morgan has. It's the perfect antidote to J.P. Morgan. All right now is the time
And they're
to
gonna
search
move.
for stocks that can work long term,
That
regardless
would
of whether they're
be
the best of times or the
one
worst
of those
times.
ones they're worried about. Jamie
One man
Dimon, Bank of
tonight.
America
Our
stuff.
growth at a
Jamie's way
reasonable
bigger than
price
that
series
by the
continues,
most part.
and I'm digging into
For the
semiconductor
numbers,
stocks to
especially
see
when
if
Jamie
any
Dimon
could
jumps. You
pose a
know
good
Bank of
value.
America
Then,
from
could
JP
today's
Morgan.
bounce in the averages be a sign of what's to come? I'm going off the charts on the NASDAQ 100
Might have a
to
banger
see
in there.
if tech
What
could
is
be
it?
ready to
Good
rally.
price on it for a
And
30-year
with our
mortgage. Are you
response to
out
the
of your
COVID-19
goddamn mind?
pandemic continuing to
It's a
evolve,
5
I'm
point
learning more
whatever.
about what's working and what's not.